Thank you for joining us. We are in my brother's yard in Michigan during some kind of unconventional times. We want to thank you for taking the time to join us. We want to take a few minutes and remember my mom and celebrate the life of Lois Marie Lacy. While funerals and memorials are often sad because of the loved one that we're saying goodbye to, they are also a time for family to get together and to support each other. These times are often filled with stories and experiences that are shared around meals and in houses bursting to the seams with friends and family that have come from far and wide. In the current climate and the travel restrictions and concerns for people's health, we have decided to do things a little differently. We'll be posting this video on our Facebook pages and would invite you to leave some of those stories or memories that you would have shared if we were all together, and to leave those in the comment section below. Saying goodbye is rarely easy, especially when that goodbye carries with it the permanence of death. However, the comfort that both John and I have is that Mom is no longer in pain. In her last few months here on earth, her body really began to fail her. And so while there is definitely a part of us that wishes to cling to her and to keep her with us, we are also glad that she is finally able to be at rest. It is also much easier for us who believe in what is awaiting her, that while she will receive a new body that is as fit as a fiddle, is just one of the many sayings that she had. As a chaplain in the United States Air Force and as a pastor for many years, I am all too familiar with death and dying, both being by the sides of parents as they have watched the light fade from their son's eyes, as well as breaking the news to family that their son or husband has passed away. So as this day approached, I did my best to put on my professional chaplain hat and fulfill my role. However, it is quite different when it is your mom, when it is your loved one. My wife asked me who was going to do this homily, and I told her that I was going to, and she wisely encouraged me to get another pastor. But I'm stubborn, and I don't listen very well sometimes. And in the same vein, I wanted to be the one who did this. I couldn't imagine anyone else filling this role for my mom other than me. My mom, much like all of us, was not perfect, but she did pass along some great qualities to both my brother and myself. She had an amazing sense of humor, and she could light up a room, and it was virtually impossible to find anyone who had met her that didn't love her. She was famous for songs and poems that she would write, some of them more memorable than others. She loved to have fun with people's names, either saying them in different accents or exaggerating different pronunciations like Mona Sarcona. She had a very quick wit about her, something that I also inherited. Most of the time it served her well, and she was truly loved for it. Other times it got her into trouble. I remember on one such occasion, she'd met a woman with a very interesting last name. When my mom heard it, she asked if that was her husband's name, and when the woman replied that it was, my mom said, "Wow, you must really love him to take on a name like that." The woman replied, "I do." When my mom realized what she had said, she felt horrible and was so apologetic, which brings me to another one of her great traits. She really didn't have a mean bone in her body. She did feel really bad if a joke or comment hurt someone's feelings, and she never wanted to get a laugh at someone else's expense. Often I would quote her as saying, if you can't say something nice, say something funny, which is something that she never said. And if she was ever in my presence when I said that, she would immediately call me a liar. When I was looking through her Bible, at the front she had a couple of verses written down. The first one I wanted to highlight is in Galatians 6:2, and it says, "Help carry one another's burdens, and in this way you will obey the law of Christ." That is something that she did every day. Whenever there was someone in need, my mom would find a way to help them out. Many times it was just to sit and listen, tell them a story, speak in a high society British accent, provide some sort of act of kindness, or just play the piano for them. She often wore her heart on her sleeve and shared it with everyone she met. Mom would often downplay her role in lifting someone's spirit, saying, "Well, it's something that anyone would have done." Another verse that she had written in the front of her Bible and highlighted was Matthew 6:25-34. The short version of this passage is, "Don't worry." In fact, verse 34 says, "So do not worry about tomorrow. It will have enough worries of its own. There is no need to add to the troubles each day brings." And I found this funny because one of Mom's spiritual gifts was worrying. We used to tease her about it. In fact, on occasion I would even reference this verse and say, "Didn't Jesus tell you not to worry?" And she would reply, well, if I didn't have something to worry about, then I would really worry. Seeing this verse highlighted was a reminder to me that no matter what our struggles, God is there to help us through. My mom knew that she struggled with concerns for what the future on this planet looked like, and she reminded herself constantly that she needed to give her concerns to him and that he would direct her path. As her kids, we did our best to take this to heart, and in her final days, it was a real struggle. While she was in the hospital, she had a few COVID-like symptoms, and this led to a COVID possible diagnosis. While every test was done, came back negative, this possibility lingered on her medical chart. As her kids, we were faced with transitioning her to hospice care. However, with that COVID possibility lingering, it became a real challenge and narrowed her options quickly. After one conversation with Deidre, my sister-in-law, we just gave it to God to figure out. Deidre had made one call to a friend who was associated with a hospital, and within 10 hours during the middle of the night, everything was taken care of. The people at Caring Circle Hospice went above and beyond during these crazy pandemic times to take care of Mom in her last few days and hours here on Earth. There's a link with this post, and if you would like to donate to them in lieu of flowers for our family, we would greatly appreciate that. This event reminded us that we don't need to worry about tomorrow. Today has enough troubles of its own. Thanks for reminding us, Mom. I know God has it taken care of. The last verse that I wanted to focus on today was written at the top of her page in her Bible. It's Psalms chapter 16, verses 5 to 11, and I'll read it from her Bible. It says, "You, Lord, are all I have, and you give me all I need. My future is in your hands. How wonderful are your gifts to me, how good they are. I praise the Lord because he guides me, and in the night my conscience warns me. I am always aware of the Lord's presence. He is near me, and nothing can shake me. And so I am thankful and glad and feel completely secure, because you protect me from the power of death. The one you love, you will not abandon to the world of the dead. You will show me the path that leads to life. Your presence fills me with joy and brings pleasure forever." Throughout her life, this was always a guiding light for her. She knew where she was going and who got her there. She really did truly love the Lord with all of her heart, and she knew that she would see him soon enough. And that is really what made her passing so much easier, knowing that she's no longer hurting and in pain, and that she is resting in God's loving and compassionate arms. Her walk with God and relationship with him was a huge part of her life, something that I still aspire to emulate. And while today we mourn that she and wish that she was still here, it is with a great hope that we know what tomorrow has in store, and we excitedly anticipate being reunited once again. So rest well, Mom. You've earned it. And as you would often sing, we will see you tomorrow, tomorrow, we'll see you tomorrow. It's only a day away. In this next part, we're going to look at a few pictures of my mom's life, and you'll hear some music playing in the background. This is music that my mom is singing, and it's music that she not only composed and performed, but recorded as well. And this is from a recording that she did a few years ago. And following that, my brother and I will share a few thoughts and memories that we have from our childhood. And in true fashion of what Mom would say is don't overdress if you don't have to, and these COVID times have definitely reinstilled that belief. And so this is the professional side of me, and Mom, the shorts are for you. Love you, Mom.
Since time began, God had a plan that one day he would give a gift so very small, a precious little baby boy who was the greatest gift of all. And no one dreamed that such a humble birth could bring the maker of the universe, because he didn't want to spend forever without you. God knew and loved you long before your birth. There is no treasure found in heaven or earth that's worth more than the love that all of heaven has for you. The Savior knows your sins and came to set you free. His love for you took him to Calvary. The greatest gift the Lord could give was given just for you. Dear friend, he's calling you today. Please listen to his voice and don't delay. He longs to take your broken heart and make it all brand new. He'll give a life of peace and joy to you. Believe him now, his every word is true, because he doesn't want to spend forever without you. God knew and loved you long before your birth. There is no treasure found in heaven or earth that's worth more than the love that all of heaven has for you. The Savior knows your sins and came to set you free. His love for you took him to Calvary. The greatest gift the Lord could give was given just for you. Just for you. Because he didn't want to spend forever without you.
Thank you for joining us for this part. Kind of the setting that I want to have us think about is this is sort of like the potluck time after a service, when we all have the opportunity to sit around together and share stories and talk about fun memories that we had of Mom. And so we're going to do that right now with some of the things, some of the memories that we have. What I would encourage and like for you to do as well is to leave some comments below about memories that you had with Mom and things that you shared. And you can do that either as a typed out message, or you can do it in a video format as well, and just kind of leave a video response of a story and share some of those things. And so the first one I wanted to share was, many people know my mom loved to write songs and just make them up. And one of the ones I remembered early on was, it was an early morning on a weekend, and I crawled in bed. I can't remember if you crawled in bed too. It was in Battle Creek, and crawled in bed, and it was morning, and sorry, Dad, but Dad was doing what many of us do in the morning, and that was breaking wind. And so that inspired my mom to write a song. And so we were laying there, and she said, she starts singing. She's like, "Oh, how we love our Father dear with all our hearts, and every morning just at dawn he lays in bed." And she never finished it. That was all. That was all the song that she wrote.
And yeah, he could rip them.
Yes. And sorry, Dad.
Sorry. Yeah, and then, growing up, she just always limericks and poems, and anybody that knew her when she was a secretary at Battle Creek and at church, she was always doing these fun songs. And, so growing up, I remember driving in the car once, and she said, let's make up a song. And she said, what do you kids want to make it up about? And of course, us being a little mischievous and always, trying to stump her, we said, how about going to the bathroom?
Toilet songs are always good.
And she goes, okay. And so she started out, tinkle, tinkle in the pot. And then she'd always think, she'd have to think what rhymes. So it's tinkle, tinkle in the pot, first a little, then a lot. If you tinkle every day, all your troubles go away.
It's true.
And we've carried that song in our family for years, along with a plentiful of others.
I know a fond memory that I have is, I think I was in 8th grade, and it was my spring break time. And we Mom and I decided to take a road trip down to Chattanooga to go see the Korzanowskis. And when we went there, I just remember on that road trip, for whatever reason, I don't know why, but I had the Indiana Jones soundtrack, and we just played that thing like the entire way down and all the way back out. Just dun 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 dun, and it was really cool because since then, whenever I hear Indiana Jones or even some other John Williams songs, it just reminds me back to that really, really cool time. And Deidre, John's wife, is actually going to share one of her stories right now, one of the fond memories and things that she has of Mom.
Hi, I'm Deidre. I'm John's wife and Lois's daughter-in-law. I've known Lois for 12 years since I've known John, but in the first 10 years of John and I being together, I really only had the occasion to be with Lois for a total of 3 weekends in that first decade. It was then in that 10th year that Lois came to St. Joe to live near John and I. And it was a little nerve-wracking, thinking about a mother-in-law coming to town and actually living in our home for a few weeks prior to settling, when I had only really known her for about 6 days. So she came, and after spending some time with her and getting to know her, I really learned what a very special mother-in-law I really did have. We created a nice little relationship, and as she did with many people, she came up with a special name for me, and my name became Deedle. And so when she would introduce me to other people, I wasn't necessarily her daughter-in-law or her son's wife. I was my Deedle. And that was a real treat to have a special name just from Lois. The other very special thing to me was after her arrival, and all of us kids were sitting around talking about her future. So it was me and John, and Rob and Michelle, and as we were having conversations about what the next couple of years are going to look like for her, it came upon the time to talk about who was going to kind of navigate that for her. And to my honor, she chose me as her power of attorney and her advocate. And that was a real honor to get to help her through this particular chapter of her life.
And we're back. And, on a little serious note, we have all these fun stories of mother. But there's certain times where, as a mother and child, we connected on a more spiritual level quite often. And one of the most fondest is, her coming back to the United States and deciding to be in St. Joe with us in this area. And she lived at the Wickham Towers in St. Joseph, Michigan. And her room actually overlooked the lake and overlooked the harbor where all the boats would come and go. And she loved watching the trains come in and out. And as you all know, she actually wore wigs.
Well, maybe some of them don't know. Mom
Okay.
wore wigs.
Yeah. So she had fabulous hair, and Deidre and I and many other people said, "Why are you even wearing a wig?"
Yep.
But yes, she wore wigs, and she spent some money on wigs. I took her to quite a few stores. She'd order them online. I'd be like, "Mother, why do you need another wig?" "Oh, well, I need another wig." Okay, so anyway, you know, her being there, I ended up going over to cut her hair, because her hair would grow underneath the wig and then it'd stick out or underneath the back. And so again, one of the memorable times is me going over to cut her hair, and we'd have her chair facing out to the lake, and whether it was a sunset or a daytime, we could hear the trains go by and people outside and a breeze coming in the room, overlooking the lake, and we'd have nice conversations about life and relationships and, you know, our pasts and our futures. And it was just a really special time to be with her, you know, every couple of weeks and do the haircut and try the wig on, make sure no hairs are sticking out, and trim up all the little facial hairs. It's, yeah.
So in honor of that, and in honor of the fact that Mom wore wigs that maybe some of you knew and maybe some of you didn't, she didn't really hide it from anybody, but we have quite a few wigs, and so we felt like it was very fitting for us to tell the next couple stories wearing Mom's wigs, because these are things that she spent good money on, and so we feel like it's important for us to make good use of those. So this next story, no, this is totally against military regulations, just so we're clear, but I'm not in uniform, so I think I'm okay. So one of the early stories I remember, I was in, I think I was in 8th grade. I just was about to start 8th grade, and winter was coming in Michigan, and I needed a new jacket. And I remember the one I had, I hated. And so I went to try it on. It was starting to get cold, and I tried it on. It was too small for me, and I was so excited. I was like, sweet, I can finally get a new coat. And it was when the bigger kind of puffy ski jackets were coming into style. And I remember thinking like, oh, I can't wait to get one of those jackets. I was so excited. And one thing about Mom that you may or may not have known is she was super thrifty when it came to clothes. And for whatever reason, she was like, would wait until stuff went on sale and would
Garage sailing,
like all these things. It was crazy. So I remember I said, "Hey Mom, my jacket's too small," and she was like, "Okay." She said, "Well, you know, we can go and go shopping tomorrow." And I was like, "All right, sweet." And I was super excited. And all of a sudden she goes, "Wait!" And she runs downstairs, and I don't know why she was going downstairs, but she came back and she had this blue jacket, which I think you had a similar one. I think she got another one or whatever. And I didn't even know this thing existed. And this thing was hideous. And I think we have a picture, or we showed it in the slideshow. No, we'll try to put it back
I think
up.
it's there.
And it's this hideous blue jacket that I absolutely hated. And she's like, "Here, try this on." And I remember thinking before I put this jacket on, I was like, you know, if there is a God, this jacket will not fit. And I put it on, and it was perfect. It fit like she bought it on purpose. And so I put it on, I was like, oh, and I looked at her and I was like, "Mom, where did you get this jacket?" And she says, "Well, you were probably 2 years old, and JCPenney was having a sale, and I only paid $10 for this jacket, or $8, something like that, back in like 1979 or something." And I'm like, "Mom, this jacket was out of style when you bought it, and that was like 10, 12 years ago."
You're wanting me to get shot at school or
And
something.
she was so excited that it fit and everything, and I just looked at her and I was like, I can't wear this. And she's like, "What do you mean?" And I said, "I will be beaten at school if I wear
And
this."
she's like, "But I'm the secretary. I will make sure
I'm the
everything is
secretary.
fine.
No
if
one will-
somebody comes to the office, we'll
No
make
one-
sure you're okay."
No one will beat my baby. And so I just told her, I was like, "Mom, I will wear no jacket before I wear that jacket." And so we actually did go shopping, and she got me a better jacket. So I won that one.
Nice. So, another story that I recall, you know, my mother did like ice cream. And in Kansas growing up, we would make often trips to Dairy Queen. And Dairy Queen was at the end of the town, and I remember turning left, and we pull into the parking lot. Well, she pulled into the parking lot into Dairy Queen. There was a huge air conditioner outside Dairy Queen. Of course, there was nothing between the air conditioner and the parking space.
And we had a big old station wagon too.
And it was a station wagon.
Yeah.
So Mother pulled in, and I just remember something about she thought it was in park or something after she had stopped, and she ended up hitting the gas and ran into the air conditioner. I mean, knocking it kilt off whack. And the whole building shook. People were all looking out, and she was mortified. She didn't know what to do, and so we're all shook up. But we're like, "Are we still gonna get ice cream?
We're still getting our ice cream, right?"
Right?" And she's like, I think I remember her backing out, and we drove around, and then she drove and parked somewhere else. And then she gave us the money to go in and get our ice cream and bring it out, and then we left. But of course, this is in a town that's
everybody
a
knew
couple
everybody.
hundred people, so everybody knew who everybody was. So, of course, Dad got a call later that day from local police department. Your wife kind of ran into a building today. Mom, I'm sure got a little bit of an earful from Dad at that point.
I'm sure.
But good stories, she always had the good intent, but sometimes things did happen, and she was embarrassed about them.
That did happen. Deidre's going to share another fun story that she had when Mom and she had met.
My favorite story of Lois was one of those very first occasions that I met her, and she came to our home, and we had a new puppy. She was 6 months old. Her name's Ruby. And Lois says, "Well, what's Ruby's middle name?" And I said, "She doesn't have a middle name." And Lois says, "Well, all the women in our family, their middle name is Marie." And I said, "Well, there it is. I guess it's Ruby Marie." And since that time, that's really stuck, so much so that on many occasions, I might just say, "Marie."
Hello, Ruby Marie. All right, well, we're back and we have new hair on. So one of my favorite stories from Mom, and this was trauma. So we talked about how Mom always tried to find deals on shoes and clothes and everything. She never bought nice shoes for us. I remember it was always "Hey, it's on sale at Payless," and these were the worst shoes ever. So I got my first job when I was in 8th grade, and I remember I'd saved up all year. And I was able to buy some Nike high-top basketball shoes, and they were on sale for $83. And I remember my mom was like, that was a sin. Honestly, she was like, $83 on shoes. This is horrible. And but I was able to buy them. They were black Nikes, and they had a white Nike swoosh. And I bought them in the summer between my 8th grade year and my freshman year. And so my freshman year, I went up to Great Lakes and Great Lakes Adventist Academy to go to school. And when I went up there, Mom kind of got my room settled while Dad was getting me taken care of and getting my classes registered. And when I came back, Mom was all excited. She's like, "Hey, I've got your room all ready. Your clothes are all here. I've got your bedding stuff here. Everything's settled and put away." And I was like, "Oh, okay, good." And then she goes, "Oh, and I did something else." And she grabs my shoes, and in these black Nikes with a white Nike swoosh, on that white Nike swoosh, she wrote R.more. So, and I was like, I saw that and I was like, "What have you done?" And she says, "Well, I didn't want anyone to steal your shoes. I didn't want anyone
They won't know."
She goes, "I didn't want anyone." And I was like, and she looked at me and I was so angry. And Mom's like, she says, "Oh, I'm sorry. Are you mad?" But it was Mom. It was really hard to be mad at her. And I was just like, "It's okay." And I was so upset. And so it wasn't.
So did you end up filling the whole Nike in with black?
I should have. No, I didn't. It was horrible. They were just ruining it. So I'd play basketball, and people would come, if I was playing defense, they'd back up, and they'd look, and they'd see my shoe, because it was written right on the inside part of the shoe. And they'd look back, and they'd just go, "Oh, hey, Rob." And I'm like, "Shut up." It made me so angry. But I've forgiven you, Mom. It just took 25 years.
She loved to do that. She loved to put our names on everything.
She would tattoo everything.
I mean, but it was sweet. So a lot of times things would happen that, she would do things and not realize what was actually happening, but she had good intent. And we were in that same station wagon as the Dairy Queen, I remember, and we're driving in Kansas, and I don't even remember what road it was, going maybe out to Gas City, and Rob and I, in the back of that station wagon, it was an Oldsmobile station wagon, blue, and the back had that big door that you pull open, and it had the trundle seat that flipped up, and Rob and I would always sit in the back facing out the back window, and it had power windows. You could roll up and down that back window, and we loved just sitting backwards and watching the world go by. And so I remember we were in the back, and this cop car comes up behind us, and we don't know anything about speed, and we're like under 10 years old, and so we're like making faces at him and just like
I think there was even some
I thought there was some gestures,
finger salutes and things that happened as well.
So next thing we know, his lights go on, and we like sunk down into the seats,
which was a pretty exciting thing for us.
Yeah. Well, then we sunk down in the seats, and Mom's like, "What's going on? What's going on?" She goes, "Get back up here into these seats." So we climbed up over into the seats and in the back seats, and she pulls over, and he says, "License, registration. Do you know why I pulled you over?" "Well, no." "Well, you were going too fast." And I don't remember if she got a ticket or not, but yeah, at either rate, I know that the officer talked to my dad at another time to say, "I stopped your wife and your kids were pretty obscene, and you guys need to," and he even said that to Mother, and we got in trouble. But
she of course had no clue what we're doing in the back seat.
Right, she had no idea.
I remember like at the end of it, the cop was sort of like, "Okay, here's your warning, your ticket, whatever she got," and then it was like, "Hey, and by the way, you need to teach your boys some respect and manners." And she's like, "What, my little angels?"
So, wonderful stories, and really, we have a nice collection of wigs now.
We do.
But really, a lot of wonderful stories that have happened over the years, and we want to thank everybody for joining us for this celebration of life. It is in different times. We would have a different service probably if this pandemic was not here. But it also shares with us a realization of how we can still connect with each other. We can still share our stories, and we really are thankful to Caring Circle Hospice for their tremendous care that they took us under their wing. And all they do, we've learned so much about their organization, and we would appreciate it if, in lieu of flowers or donations or things to the family, to donate to Caring Circle for Hospice. We'll be sharing a link at the bottom of the video on YouTube, and there will also be a link on the Facebook post. Once again, Rob, on behalf of Rob, myself, the family, the Lacy family, we want to thank everyone for being part of this memorial service to our mother, and may her light just shine on to everyone that sees this and knew her, and those that didn't know her, but maybe you can know a little bit about such a wonderful person, and we want to thank you.
Thank you.